You have no money, no savings, no connections, no backup, no fallback. The bank account reads 0. The next bill is already late, and every direction you look feels closed. If that is where you are right now, do not scroll past this video, because there is a woman in Scripture who started in the exact same position. She had no savings, no husband, no income. She was a foreign widow gleaning leftover grain in fields that did not belong to her, in a country that did not want her. 3 months later, she was married into one of the wealthiest households in Bethlehem. A few years after that, she was the great-grandmother of a king, and eventually, the great-great many times, grandmother of Jesus Christ himself. Her name was Ruth, and the way she escaped poverty with absolutely zero capital is one of the most overlooked wealth strategies in the entire Bible. Stay with me through the next 6 minutes, because I am about to break down the exact 3 moves she made. Moves you can begin applying this week, even if your own bank account currently reads 0. And the 3rd move I will reveal at the 4-minute mark is the one that broke her out of poverty for good. Most teaching about Ruth focuses on the love story, the widow, the kinsman redeemer, the romance of an outsider being welcomed in, the wedding at the end of the book that ties everything together. That reading is not wrong, but it is small, because Ruth's story is not really a love story. It is a wealth story dressed in the language of love. And every move she made before Boaz ever noticed her was a deliberate strategic decision that took her from absolute poverty to generational fortune. Look at where she started. Her husband had died. Her father-in-law had died. Her brother-in-law had died. The men who would normally have provided for her in the ancient Near East were all gone. She was a Moabite woman in Israel, a foreigner, viewed with suspicion, with no legal standing, no property rights, and no social network that would protect her. She had nothing. Ruth chapter 2, verse 2. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." This is the verse most people read past too quickly. Gleaning was the ancient welfare system of Israel. The Mosaic law required landowners to leave the corners of their fields unharvested so that widows, orphans, and foreigners could come behind the harvesters and pick up what was left. It was the lowest form of subsistence available. The people who gleaned were the people who had nothing. Ruth chose to glean, not because it was glamorous, not because it would make her rich, because it was the one available action she could take with the resources she actually had, which were her own 2 hands. That single decision, to act with what she had instead of waiting for what she did not, was the foundation of everything that came after. There are 3 specific moves Ruth made that took her from gleaning to generational wealth. The same 3 any modern professional with absolutely no capital can apply this week. The first move, she used her labor as her starting capital. Ruth had no money, but she had something most people in financial distress forget they have. She had her body, her hands, her time, her willingness to do work that other people considered beneath them. She did not wait for someone to give her a position. She did not wait for the right opportunity. She walked into a field at the start of the harvest and began working. Hard, visibly. From sunrise until the heat of the day forced everyone into rest. When you have absolutely no capital, your labor becomes your capital. And the way you deploy that labor determines whether you stay in poverty or escape it. Most people who feel stuck financially are not actually stuck. They are simply unwilling to do the visible labor that would put them in front of the people who could change their situation. They want the right job before they will work. They want the right opportunity before they will move. They want the right conditions before they will commit their effort. Ruth did not have that luxury. She did not wait for ideal. She used her hands. For the modern professional with no capital, this principle is the starting point of everything. What labor can you do this week, even if it is below the dignity you imagine for yourself? The cleaning shift, the night security job, the food delivery hours, the tutoring slot, the freelance project that pays a fraction of what your skills are worth. There is no shame in starting at the gleaning level. There is only shame in refusing to start at all. This week, identify one piece of work you can do immediately, regardless of how small the income is. Begin it. The income from that work is your first capital. That is move 1. The second move. She positioned her labor where the right people could see it. This is where Ruth's strategy becomes genuinely brilliant. She did not just glean in any field. The text says she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. The Hebrew here uses the language of accident to describe what was clearly deliberate. Ruth and Naomi knew who Boaz was. Naomi was related to him by marriage. They knew he was a man of standing in Bethlehem. They knew his fields were among the largest in the region. They knew his reputation was that of a fair employer who allowed gleaners to work safely. Ruth chose his field on purpose. She did not glean in some random corner of the local economy. She positioned her labor exactly where the right person, the man with capital, with land, with influence, with character, could see her working. This is the move that almost no one in financial distress understands. When you have nothing to offer except your labor, the most important decision you make is where to deploy that labor. The wrong field will absorb your work and produce nothing more than survival wages. The right field will put you in front of someone who has the capacity and the inclination to change your situation. For the modern professional with no capital, this principle is everything. Where you work matters more than what you earn at first. The low-paying job at the right firm is more valuable than the higher-paying job at a dying company. The unpaid internship in the right industry is more valuable than the steady wage in the wrong one. The volunteer position in the right ministry is more valuable than the salaried position in the wrong one. Ruth understood this when she walked into Boaz's field. She was not just looking for grain, she was positioning herself in front of capital. This week, ask yourself one honest question. The work you are doing right now, is it placing you in front of people who can change your trajectory, or is it simply absorbing your labor for survival wages? The answer matters more than how hard you are working. That is move 2. The third move, and here is the one I promised you at the 4-minute mark. She moved with bold faith at the moment opportunity presented itself. There came a night when Naomi told Ruth that the next phase of their plan required courage. Boaz would be sleeping at the threshing floor, guarding the harvest. Ruth was instructed to go to him in the night, uncover his feet, lie down, and wait. This was not a small ask. In ancient Near Eastern culture, a woman approaching a man at night carried serious risk. She could be misunderstood, mistreated, cast out. Her reputation could be destroyed in a single moment. Ruth did it anyway. Ruth chapter 3 verse 9. He said, "Who are you?" And she said, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your cloak over your servant, for you are a redeemer." She made the move. She named what she wanted. She invited him to step into a role he had every legal right to refuse. He said yes. This is the principle that breaks people out of poverty for good. There comes a moment in every escape from financial distress when the situation requires a bold move that feels disproportionate to the safety of the moment. The conversation with the potential mentor, the pitch to the investor, the application for the position you do not feel ready for, the cold message to the person who could change everything. Most people never make that move. They glean steadily, they work hard, they position themselves correctly. But when the moment arrives that requires bold faith, they freeze. The fear of rejection outweighs the desire for the breakthrough. Ruth did not freeze. She made the move, and the move broke her out of poverty for good. This week, identify the bold move you have been avoiding. The conversation, the pitch, the application, the introduction. Do not wait for the perfect timing. Make the move. That is move 3. Ruth started with no money, no husband, no income, and no rights. She used her labor as her capital. She positioned that labor in front of the right people. She moved with bold faith at the moment opportunity presented itself. And the woman who began the book, gleaning leftover grain, ended the book as the great-grandmother of a king and the ancestor of the Messiah himself. You are Ruth. You are the one being asked to use what you have right now, no matter how small. You are the one being asked to position your labor in front of people who can change your trajectory. You are the one being asked to make the bold move when the moment arrives. Use the labor. Position the work. Make the move. In the next video on this channel, we open the wealth strategy of a biblical figure who built generational fortune from an unlikely starting position. If you have ever felt overlooked, this teaching will change everything. Subscribe. Stay close. Throne of Wealth.